Yesterday, I tried to be an air conditioning engineer. Today, I'm going to try and be a lighting engineer. What could go wrong? Let's do this. So when I found out I was actually getting an office, I reached out to Corsair, who consequently deal with Elgato as well, because Elgato are owned by Corsair. And I said, look, we've already got a Keylight, and you probably saw this in pretty much every video we did in the old studio. It was kind of, if you can imagine, this is the old studio. It was actually sitting up in this corner. And it was really handy to kind of separate me from the backdrop. As you can appreciate now, we have a little bit more space. So even just this back desk, which we've now put up, does need filling up a little bit. So we're going to put kind of projects that are ongoing. The monitors are going to stay on there and so forth. But we still want to be able to separate ourselves from the background. And of course, we want more lighting in here in general, because as I have mentioned, we've got these lights, but they're just not great. So Elgato really did kind of come through. They sent us the multi-mount flex arm kits, which is basically this little bit here. So if I take off my mobile phone holder, which is especially handy if you're doing live streams and things like that, you kind of have these little smaller extensions, I guess. So you do get various different sizes. So we've kind of got these small ones and then onto the larger one. That then goes onto the multi-mount itself. So if I move these to one side, you can see that you get the multi-mount. Now what the multi-mount is basically this bar here, which, just like, I guess, a light stand or a C stand, it allows you to extend things up and then lock the collar back down. And it has got two levels to it. Obviously we're not going to have it on there. This is going to be on the floor and it's going to work as a kind of conventional light stand. Anyone who's ever used light stands before will know that you can get them off eBay, you can get them off Amazon, you can get them pretty much anywhere, but they don't exactly have a perfect way of standing. Especially if you are in kind of a small confined space. The amount of times that we've tripped over it, and being quite top heavy, because the lights that we were actually using on there were these ones, they just kind of, like I mentioned, were a little bit top heavy. So there was moments where, I don't know, we were a little bit frightened that they'd maybe fall over. So that's where it comes down to the base. So what Elgato actually have as well is a base unit. So once you unscrew this part, which comes off from underneath, you've got this very, very heavy weighted base plate, which I'll show you exactly what it can do. So this is a little bit of, let's call it a bastardized solution. We basically have the multi-mount going into an adapter, a spigot adapter, which then goes into a stud, which then puts our normal light. And these are a little bit, I don't know, they're not perfect for it, but it's a solution that I believe is going to work for us without spending a huge amount of money. And the beauty of it being on the weighted base is if you do knock it over, even just a little bit, it kind of settles itself a little bit. There's less fear of it just being knocked over compared to a normal kind of tripod style leg. Obviously if you do go a little bit further, then maybe, but no, it's holding up okay. So yes, this is a little bit janky, but it is going to be the solution that works for us. So we are going to have two of these, and what I'm thinking is probably one sort of somewhere here and one a little bit sort of over this side. We have got our RGB lights, which one is in that corner and this one's going to be sitting in that corner now that we've got the desk up. We have got the ability, if we want to do multicam on live stream, we could just clamp something to the desk. We have also got different key lights. So as well as our normal lights, we've got the Keylight that I took from the old studio. We've got a couple more of them as well. And then we also do have a Keylight Air. I did mention in a previous vlog, I'm not even sure if I'm going to be using the Keylight Air, because we do have the space to use the full-size Keylights. So why would I want to go down the Keylight Air route? Maybe I'm going to use that for my home office, which we are going to do a whole series for, where I'm going to kind of make a little bit of a home office slash man cave, and maybe I'll end up using that in there just for kind of streaming purposes, that kind of stuff. So really, I need to get everything out the boxes and sort of, you know, start setting things up. But there is one other product as well that, again, I'm not too sure whether I'm going to be using, but this is the Corsair IQ LS100. So it's basically a light strip. For anyone who remembers our old videos, we had a light strip on the back of the table, and it just, you know, gave us a nice harmonious glow up the wall. That's kind of what we're looking to do with this. The only problem is this has to be plugged into a computer from what I can tell. And I might not always have a computer here, so it might make things a little bit tricky. But again, if it doesn't work here, it will definitely work in my home office. So there's different solutions, horses for courses and all that. Either way, let's get stuff made up. So we did hit a little bit of a snag, and that mainly came down to the multi-mount, the shelves and the ceiling. It's no fault of any one thing, it's just all of them combined. And I'll show you what's going on. Basically, we wanted to put a light here. The problem is the multi-mount itself isn't tall enough, as I showed you with the main light on there. So I was thinking if we clamped onto here. The problem that we've then got is it's a little bit too high for the ceiling to try and get the light over. But luckily, the multi-mount kit with the flex arm has allowed us to kind of fabricate this, which doesn't look great, but it's definitely holding. I mean, the key lights aren't exactly the lightest thing in the world, but they're not the heaviest, but it is holding very, very well. So what we can now do, admittedly, it's not going to clamp onto the shelf as well as what I would like, purely because there isn't a huge amount of surface area here to clamp onto. But in theory, we can actually put this, so it is going to have a little bit of a lean to it, but to be fair, I'm not that fussed about it. Then if we clamp it down, like so, making sure everyone is tight on the flex arm kit, we can then maneuver this one like this, and the light is now in place. And in theory, I mean, that's not going anywhere. You can see I'm actually shaking the whole shelf as I do that. So even though it's not completely straight and it looks a little bit janky, it's definitely going to serve a purpose. So now all I need to do is do exactly the same as that, the opposite way, and put it on the other shelf. So yeah, let's get building. So multi-mount, basically it's the basis of what we want, but we do need to add a few little things to it in terms of the flex arm kit. And all we're going to be doing is just making up exactly the same as what we've done on the other one to go on the other shelf unit. Now, one thing I actually do wish was a little bit different about this is the fact that to unscrew this, to allow you to clamp the next bit on, you have to unscrew it so far that, as you saw, you're kind of taking it apart a little bit. It's just a little bit frustrating. I would have liked it to maybe had a ever so slightly longer screw bit on it. But yeah, a little bit of constructive feedback for Elgato. And then the last bit to the actual kit is the ball with the screw thread on there, so we can put a light on there. And the beauty is as well that if we ever want to do time lapses and stuff like that, we can just take the light off and just simply screw a camera on there. It's the same screw fitting on a light, camera, kind of, you know, multiple things. Even the mobile phone mount that I mentioned earlier, that can screw on that way, you can screw on that way. It really is that versatile. So let's get our next key light out. And screw it onto place. And the beauty of these lights as well is that they actually have multiple screw points. So you can screw it on here, 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 or here. So if you wanted it that way, if you were kind of doing more portrait-y stuff, you can do that, or you can do it this way. So yeah, really the world is your oyster. And then tighten them up. And voila. So one thing I did want to do was look at the LS100 kit, and I'm probably actually tempted because of how good it looks to get some of the LT100s, which are the light stands. Admittedly, when they first came out, a lot of people kind of said they were the most pointless thing ever, but I've got a use for them. Because we've got the RGB lights kind of off to the side, I'm actually thinking we have one of the light stands over here, just kind of cycling RGB colours, and then probably the same over here. You got to imagine these boxes aren't going to be in, there's going to be systems along and so forth. But you can probably see it. Admittedly, if we come in with a camera, you can see the bars themselves. We haven't stuck them down or anything because we're quite lucky there's a kind of piece of conduit going all the way around this office. But when you're sort of further back, it actually looks really, really nice. And if I go onto the Control Center app from Elgato, I can turn off the main lights, and you can just see that glow that we're getting on the wall is a little bit better. And I'll turn these lights off as well, because when we're doing our kind of glam shots, our B-roll shots, I think that is going to look really, really nice. And it's not too much, it's not kind of too overpowering, there's just a nice subtle glow there. Of course, we can control it through the iQ software, and I'm pretty sure that if I wanted to, I could plug it into my laptop, I could change all the colours and everything, and then it would actually put what I've decided to do and the colour scheme, or if I've decided to go for red or green or blue or multicoloured, put it down to there, disconnect my laptop, and in theory it should just hold. So yeah, I'm really happy with the way that looks. I just think the addition of the LT100 bars, just one either side, would really sort of finish things off. So we are progressing quite nicely now. We do have the LIFX bulbs set up, which didn't go without its hiccups. So when I moved into this office, we were actually given a Wi-Fi extender, shall we say. Kind of, you can use it as an extender or an access point. It's made by TP-Link, and it's probably the worst thing in the world. It was giving us bad speeds and wasn't allowing us to connect anything to it, which consisted of the LIFX bulbs, which obviously do connect via Wi-Fi, as well as the Keylights from Elgato. So I ended up changing it up for just an old router that I had laying around. Didn't need anything special because we're not using it as a router. We're using it more as an extender, an access point, a bridge, whatever you want to call it. So as soon as we've done that, everything connected flawlessly. So very easy to set up. On the Elgato side, just going into Control Center, adding the devices onto the Wi-Fi channel, and then renaming them, and we've got everything. So if I actually go onto the Control Center, you can see that we've basically got our back right, the Keylight Air, the top left and the top right, and I can turn every single one off individually, so it goes quite dark in here, and I can turn sort of, you know, everything back on. I can control the color sort of temperature, I can control the brightness of each one individually. Of course, we are going to set it up to the Elgato Stream Deck, so with the editing rig we can have it just over there. We can turn everything on very easily if we haven't got our mobile phones sort of, you know, within an arm's reach. So there are a few niggly little things. The fact that we have a Keylight set up over here, probably going to keep that quite yellowy orange, just to kind of separate myself from the background. We do want to put another one just over here as well, just so we've got some kind of symmetry. We have actually mounted the Keylight here. We've kind of got the angles all right and everything as well. And we have tried to cable tie this as best we can. Probably going to need to maybe do a little bit of a better job. This I'm personally, I don't know, proud of, I guess. We actually took up these panels. It's actually on a rod, so the Keylight Air comes with a little bit of a rod, and that's kind of cable tied along this part of the frame all the way back to this light here. We just need to get some sticky ladder cable ties, and we can probably stick that along there. Don't want to sort of damage anything, because at the end of the day we are leasing this place, we're renting it, so I don't want to make any damage that theoretically when we move out I'm going to have to pay for. We've also got this up here, so yeah, there is a little bit of a mess here. We are using these lights at the moment, but we're just trying to figure out what we're going to be doing with it, because when it's on your face, to really sort of get the right results from it, it has to be stupidly bright, and when it is stupidly bright and I'm standing there, it's just kind of a bit too much in your face. So we've got the choice of either maybe moving it back a little bit, that way we can turn it up without it being so harsh, or having it like it is pointing up at the ceiling. But then the problem we have is the RGB light in the background. So you can see we've got blue over here, purple over there. It kind of drowns it out just a little bit. I also want to change this, because while the Keylight Air is good, it's small, it's very, very functional, very easy to set up. I actually prefer a few things with the Keylight Air to the Keylight. And I don't know whether Elgato have changed this, but even down to the little brackets that hold the bars together and things like that. On the Keylight and the multi-mounts and the multi-mount flex kits, they're all made out of plastic. On the Keylight Air, it's actually made out of metal, and it just seems so much better quality. I also like the fact that it's got an independent reset button instead of a rocker switch, because rocker switches can go wrong, they do go wrong, but so far so good. So yeah, we've got a few things at the moment that we want to go through. It's still a mess in here at the moment, but I'm thinking another Keylight up here. I want to set up the other secondary light over there so that we've got kind of an even spread of light, but we may be changing our conventional lights over to Keylights as well. So we'd have 2, 4, 6, and then the top one, 7 Keylights in total, just because they're a lot easier to control than your conventional studio lights. In theory, they actually work out cheaper, sort of overall, when you're looking at the price of the Keylight. Obviously, as soon as you start adding on the accessories like the flex arm kits and the multi-mounts and stuff, but they do come with basically a multi-mount to start with, so it's only really if you need that flex arm kit to sort of come off of that's going to cost you a little bit more money. So yeah, things are getting there. There's still a lot more to do to really get everything up, ready, and ready for our normal videos. I still need to bring over a lot of the PCs that are kind of work in progress ones, put them on this back shelf as well. another thing that we have to be mindful with lighting is the screens as well, because they will reflect off of this, and we don't want that sort of on our conventional videos where we try and make things look, you know, great quality and stuff like that. So yeah, I think I need to tidy up now, see what else we're going to do. We need to get probably a weighted base and another multi-mount setup with another light, so it basically looks the same as this one. Admittedly, it's a little bit janky, you know, we've got the little adapter, medium adapter, and then the full-size thing, but it's functional, and that's all I care about. We could have spent a lot more money and bought a lot more expensive product, but when something like this does the job, and you know, it's not really cost us much at all, then I think we're onto a winner. So yeah, until the next one.